Hey everyone, how are we doing? Marcio here again. Let's move on with our class on creating the menu. So, what do we have in store for this class? Well, let's just recap first on what we've done so far. We've been able to create the background to our menu, haven't we? We've shown you how we can create another widget for the side menu along with the animations as well. We still need to link these as well, but we'll do that later. Now, we already have some buttons placed here on our side menu and they're animated. And as you go over them, they will play sound and change color as well, right? Now, the goal now is to include some other buttons, some more interactions that aren't appearing at first. For example, under the option for resolution, the idea would be that when you click on resolution, it will bring up a submenu where we can then choose the actual resolution of what we see on screen, whether that be high, medium, or low, right? Now, we'll be able to show you how to get that all functioning so it actually takes effect on our game and how you can link the function for the start to actually start the game. Then, before it actually starts the game, we'll put a loading screen in as well. Okay, so just on the resolution as well, that's going to affect the performance, isn't it, of what we see on screen. And you can do the same on any other submenu, but we'll just use that as an example. We'll also talk a little bit more about the instructions submenu as well. Okay, so hopefully that gives you an outline of what we're going to try to achieve within this class, some more interactions within our submenu, and how to get the resolution working. So let's create the submenu for the resolutions. And to create the submenu, we're going to do this in the way that includes a few new features, such as, of course, we're going to need to use some different buttons, but we'll use a checkbox as well. You can make sure then that the person, when they click on their resolution, they know what they've selected. Okay. So first of all, we'll work on its appearance, and I'll create a panel in this case for us to use to create the submenu. So to do that, I'll just close these so it's a bit tidier, and I'll create a panel for us to organize these buttons within. The panel that I'll choose is a vertical panel, this one here, and we'll just put it in the right place in the hierarchy. One button on top of the other is how it works, if you remember. So the vertical box can do a really good job for us, and I'll put it in this order here under the resolution button. Okay, so it's really about visual organization. So the vertical box is here and the anchor is located there. So I'll change the anchor to the center like the others, and I'll set up the position with the x-axis to 100 so it's lined up, and the y will be 0 because this would be pretty much central. Okay, and the size is 300 and 130. Cool. So that's how big it's going to be. And when I click it, it will take this much space. Okay. And let me just hide these buttons, just so we don't get confused and it's not in our way. Cool. All right. So now we've got that, we can see what we're doing. I'm going to create 3 buttons here. This button is going to be a little bit different though. It's going to be a checkbox button, so that you can have the ability to click in it when you select your option. And I'm going to create 3 of them so that we can select the resolution through the checkboxes. So I'll create a checkbox here. And let's just create 3. And I'm going to name them accordingly to the resolution, such as high. The next one will be medium. And the last one we can call low, for low resolution. Perfect. So I'll adjust this alignment now, and I'll use the alignment to fill up the alignment horizontally. Let's do that now. Use the horizontal option, and you've also got the vertical option as well. So we do both of them. So now I need to add the text that's going to show up. So we should add a text just describing what it actually is going to be doing. So let's add the text here in the hierarchy. This text is going to be high resolution. And the font we need to be black, so we can change the color here. Okay. And the size is 24. Cool. So I think I'll add another text underneath as well. We can copy it and paste it in. It's a bit easier, and then just rename it. Rename this one to medium resolution. You get the idea, don't you? And we'll do the same for the low resolution as well. Nice. So we've got our 3 different types of resolution and checkboxes. This already has its own function. So let's see as it's shown here. Okay, so we can already click on them. That's fine. And they sharpen in a nice way, just as we would like at this stage. So that panel's ready. The checkbox function is already preset. And later we can create some events for each of the functions. But for now, that's as far as we need to go at this stage. So now I can create the animation, and I can create the animation for the panel itself. Okay. And I'm going to do it the same way as we did before, just so it springs out from the left hand side. So it springs from the left to the right. Let's do that then. So I'll select my box, the vertical box that is, and we'll create an animation like we did before. We'll call it resolution anim for the animation of the resolution. And I'll then create a track here, which is this vertical box, but I'll rename it to resolution submenu. And then we just need to add a track here and a transform type. And then we can do exactly as we did before, adjust the scale. Okay, so I'll set the animation to 0.25 seconds. If we need it more, we can adjust it later. Don't forget to keyframe on the x-axis. And let's go back to, so it's 0, that's where it's going to be. And it's going to spring out to 1 like that. Okay, and I'll do the same thing I did before on the other one, where we changed the starting point to 0. Okay, so we're not seeing it when we're working on our widget. We only see it in the animation as it should be. Cool. So we can put everything back on now, and drag this up a bit because I don't like where it's placed. Let's just adjust the position. We use -20, 30. Okay. So it's all about, how you feel it, how you feel you want to adjust it in its positioning. Cool. So how do we get it to actually work, to actually affect the game? Well, the first thing I'll do is to create an event for this to work. Okay. We're used to creating these now, aren't we, in this course? So the event will help me because when I click the button, I want things to happen, don't I? I want the animation to appear first of all, like we did with everything else. And I want to set my scale to 0, just so it looks like it doesn't exist, and it will only work when I push play. So its initial position is going to be 0, and it will appear, and then these 2 buttons, where my exit buttons or these other buttons here, they can slide down. Okay, so this is what I'll do now. I'll make an event specifically for this. Okay, with all of this, and then we'll see how we can activate it. Okay, and later you understand why we've worked in this particular way. Okay, so we'll use this method. I'll just show you now, just so it's easier for us to understand. Otherwise, we're going to have too many nodes to work out. So let's do it this way. Let's create a custom event, and I'll name it Open Resolution Menu. Okay, so that's how I'll name it. What will it do? Well, the first thing it will do is it's going to open some more space on the panel. Okay, just so we can see here, it's going to create more space by dragging these down. Okay, so I'll bring this back to, let's get that, bring this back to 1 on the scale, just so we can see it, and I'll put it back to 0 later. So here I'm going to drag down these 3 buttons. Okay, so that's what we'll do when I click this button. Okay, so when I click this button, this event will happen. but it's not happening just yet. I'm just creating the event, okay? So which buttons should I move then? It's the instruction button, about, and the exit buttons. I'll place these here. I'll get them and create a set render transform to move it down, just as we looked at before, okay? If you remember how it works, it gets the relative position, and then we can move it according to the coordinate with the split pin. So we'll check that it all works in a second. So let's think about this. What's it doing? It's moving 120. If it's at position 0, we can then think about moving it to 120. So when it runs the event, it's going to drag down the instructions button, okay, from its starting point to the new location. But we have to do the same thing for the other buttons as well. So I'll find our about button here, and it's going to move same distance, 120. Okay. So I can use the same node because it's doing the same thing. And we can add all 3 buttons into this. Okay. And they're going to move and the animation will run. So I'll add my resolution animation. Here it is. And I'll play the animation. Just type play. There we go. And connect it. Simple as that, really. So it's going to run forward. Okay. And that's it. Now I can create a variable, and you'll understand why later. But I can create a variable telling me what the menu resolution condition is, if it's open or if it's closed. That is, if the resolution button was clicked or not. Okay, so I'll create this variable in here, and I'll name it resolution pressed, meaning that the button has been pressed. And this needs to be a Boolean because it's conditional. So we create a conditional one and put it here. Okay. Use set, and I'll create a variable, and once this event is done, I want the condition of this variable to be true. Okay, so yeah, we want it to be true on this event. So you might find sometimes that Unreal does it automatically, but you can also do it manually. Okay, you can also adjust it yourself. So I've got the animation running here, and so that seems to be working all. I'm happy with all that. Since we're already doing this, let's move the closing movement into place as well. We'll call that closing resolution menu. Okay, so we've got an event for that. And what should we do now? The same thing. I'll take our buttons back to their initial position, which is going to be a position of 0. And I have to take these as well. I can plug them in here. We can save space by using the same thing, and we're just doing the opposite. So here we want to play the animation, and we have it playing forward, don't we? So what we're going to do, we're going to play it in reverse. So when I push the button, it's going to go forward, and then pushing it again will play the animation backwards. All right. So Control W. You duplicate it, select reverse here from the drop down in the play mode, and use the same animation and connect these two. So then we have a copy of the set Boolean, and untick that. So it's going to be false. So if it's not open anymore, and that's all good. Awesome. Compile and save. So there we go. We've created an event for that. Nice. So that should run all the things we need for that sub menu so far, but nothing is assigned to start it. So we need to start these events, don't we? How are we going to do that? And when do we need to start it? Well, when we click the resolution button. So for now, we've only done it for when the mouse is over it. I'll go to the resolution button for when I click it, and then I've selected that. I'll place it here in the same comments for the resolution button, so it all makes sense, because this is also where it's going to show the resolution. And so once we click, then all this is going to be triggered. Okay. And it's going to open the sub menu. Cool. And it will close it as well. So the flow setup for this is a flip-flop, which is the light switch. Remember, the on or off, the true or the false. Okay. So however I'd mentioned it in the past, it's exactly the same here. Because it's a conditional node, it's either true or false. Okay, we're starting to see here the benefit of the way we've been teaching you in this course. So we understand now why we're using these nodes. So we'll use a flip-flop for now, although there are many other ways of doing it. But it's just helpful though to understand if we do get problems down the line, it's probably connected, it's easier to work out where we may have some issues. But we just drag out and get our custom event, the open and the close of the resolution menu. So this button will open and it will close. And when I click it, it's going to execute all of this. So when I click it again, it's going to execute the reverse. Okay, so let's test it and see what happens. Oh, let's just turn them off again. I've forgotten to put the scale to 0. Let's just do that. Okay, put a 0 for our initial position, so we don't see it at the beginning, and it should do that. So let's try again and push play. And okay, so it's not showing here. Then click on resolution. Then it shows our sub menu. It pushes down, and then obviously you can see there's a problem here, which I was going to talk to you about later, but I can't help it now. So let's go back. Let's address it now. So what happens? We press it, it drops down. Great. But we press it again, it disappears. Okay, so we need to just work out how we can add a delay to this so it doesn't clash with the other text below. Okay, but at least you can see that it's closing and opening in the right way. So that's good. So let's correct what we need to correct though before we end the class. So to do this, let's think about how we can do this in the best way. So when it opens the menus, they slide down and the animation begins. So this is all right because it's instantaneous. But now on the reverse, what we need to do when we close the animation, they go the other way around. So we can reverse the process here. So I'll just disconnect these. Just bring it over here. Okay. And I know it looks horrible. It doesn't look as neat as we usually make things look. But let's just reposition a few things. And I'll move my animation again so they're not, crossing wires. And then I'll push play first and I'll run the animation. Yeah, I'll run the animation first and then I'll change the node, right? Plug it into the condition. Cool. But as we mentioned in the flow control class, things happen at the same time, okay? So if we want them to have different timings or different motions or different speeds, then we have to add a flow control node in the timeline. In this case, all I need to add is a delay. So I need to wait for the animation time to be over, which is 0.25 of a second to close the menu. So we put a delay here and just use 0.25. Okay. So first it will close and then it will move the menus. Let's see it. So we've got our scene. Oh, let me just compile, save, make sure that's done. Okay, let's start again. All right, so we've got our buttons working, resolution, great. Let's press it again. You see that? Nice. So that delay just helps us, okay? It's not clashing anymore with the text and it looks much better, doesn't it? Perfect. So we can finish this class for now, just so it's not too long. And then in the next class, we'll continue to work with our menu. It's beginning to really take shape though, isn't it? And hopefully you're understanding the methods. There are quite a few nodes already, but we're getting there. We're getting to something beautiful. So I'll see you now in the next class.